The auctioneer's voice grated like a shovel on hard Dakota earth, a harsh rasp cutting through the dry air. To Caleb, it was just another noise in a town he endured for necessities, salt, flour, and the bitter taste of other men's company. He stood by the livery, eyes on the endless plains, their vast emptiness echoing the hollow in his heart. He was there for draft horses, nothing more. But the auctioneer's tone shifted, laced with cruel amusement, pulling Caleb's gaze. They were bringing out the final lot, a novelty, from the railroad labor camps. A joke. She appeared then, a girl barely a woman, on a crude wooden block. Small, with dark hair stark against the dusty backdrop, her hands loosely bound, she stood unnaturally still. In a world of jeers and loud gestures, her silence was profound. The men bid mockingly, a nickel, a dime, a button, bidding not for a person but for the right to humiliate. Caleb watched her face, a mask of calm resignation. Yet her dark eyes held something ancient, unbreakable, a survivor's spirit, weathered by storms he couldn't fathom. He thought of his cold, silent home, haunted by his late wife's ghost and the suffocating dust of grief. He thought of his daughter, Lily, a quiet shadow who hadn't laughed in a year. The bidding stalled at $1, a final insult. Without thinking, Caleb raised his hand. $50, he rumbled. The crowd fell silent. The sum was absurd, enough for a horse or cattle. It wasn't a joke, it was a statement. The auctioneer, stunned, slammed his gavel. Sold. Caleb laid the silver coins down and met her eyes. No gratitude, no fear, just a quiet, questioning appraisal. He untied her wrists with calloused fingers. No words passed between them. He hadn't bought a wife, servant, or slave, he'd bought a silence to match his own. As he led her to his wagon, he wondered if he'd made a grave mistake or, for the first time in years, something right. The journey to the ranch was wordless, the wagon wheels groaning against the baked earth. She sat straight, clutching a small bundle, her gaze fixed on the sea of grass. Caleb felt her presence, fragile yet solid, an unknown he couldn't explain. He'd seen the ugliness in those men's eyes and acted against it. It was that simple, and that complicated. The homestead appeared against the bruised twilight, a timber house, a barn, a lone cottonwood tree. To Caleb, it was a tomb he'd built himself. Inside, the air was cold, thick with dust and neglect. A half-eaten plate sat on the table, a testament to joyless meals. He gestured to a cot in the corner, separated by a threadbare blanket. "You sleep there," he said, his voice rough from disuse. Expecting tears or fear, he got a nod. She stepped inside, set down her bundle, and surveyed the room, the dusty floor, unwashed dishes, the faded portrait of a smiling woman on the mantel. Her eyes lingered, then met his, clear and steady. The silence between them was heavy with unspoken things. The next morning, Caleb woke to an unfamiliar scent, wood smoke and baking bread. The fire in the hearth burned steady, the air warmed. Coffee brewed, its fragrance a stranger. She'd swept the floors, her broom's rhythm a gentle pulse. She kneaded dough with fluid efficiency, not looking up but aware of him. Caleb watched this small woman impose order on his chaos. He'd offered her a cot in a derelict house, she was offering a home. He poured coffee, strong and hot, and sat. The silence wasn't hostile anymore. That day, he saw her in the neglected garden, pulling weeds with patient hands. She wasn't erasing the past but making space for a future. That evening, they ate a simple stew, hot and nourishing. She'd cleaned the portrait's glass, placing it back with respect, an acknowledgement of the ghost among them. Her quiet transformation mirrored Caleb's neglected soul, stirring shame and a faint curiosity. Lily, his 6-year-old daughter, watched from the shadows, her world shrunk by grief. She observed Mai's actions, mending a shirt with neat stitches, polishing windows until sunlight streamed in. Mai never coaxed her, just existed, a steady presence. One Tuesday, Mai sat on the porch, shelling peas, humming a melancholic tune. Lily crept out, sitting below her. Mai didn't stop, just offered a pea pod. Lily took it, fumbling until Mai showed her how to split it. They sat for an hour, sharing the task in comfortable silence. That night, as Caleb tucked Lily in, she whispered, "Papa, the quiet lady, does she have a name?" The question pierced his detachment. He'd fed and sheltered her but kept her distant. "Yes," he said, the syllables strange. "Her name is Mai." Saying it felt like unlocking a door. Mai and Lily's bond grew through silent gestures. Mai left wildflowers on Lily's pillow, Lily left smooth stones by Mai's bowl. Mai wove grass patterns, and Lily mimicked her. Caleb heard Lily giggle one day as Mai showed her a cat's cradle, a sound he thought buried with his wife. The house became warm, filled with baking and herbs. Lily was a child again, her eyes regaining light. Mai remained an enigma, her scars and haunted looks hinting at a past Caleb had no right to know. Yet her presence steadied him. One evening, he found his dented tin mug polished, its dent smoothed out. It was a small act, but profound. He wanted to thank her but couldn't. Instead, he filled it with water and sat, the silence holding a fragile acknowledgement of their shared life. A blizzard struck, a white-toothed monster swallowing the prairie. For 2 days, they were trapped, the house a fragile ship in a frozen sea. On the third night, Lily coughed, her fever burning hot. Caleb's blood ran cold, he knew this fever. It had taken his wife. The doctor was unreachable in the storm. Panic clawed at him as Lily's breathing grew ragged. Mai moved into his fear with calm precision. She bathed Lily's forehead, brewed herbal tea, and sat by her side, murmuring soothing words. Caleb could only watch, his hands useless. He brought water, kept the fire roaring, and stood vigil. In the darkest hour, Mai's exhausted eyes met his, fierce with resolve. She was a warrior, fighting for Lily's life with a tenacity that shamed his despair. The vigil stretched into a second day, the world shrinking to Lily's breaths. When her fever eased, Mai slumped in a chair. Caleb brought her broth. In the firelight, he broke. "It was like this before," he said, words tumbling out. "The fever took her so fast. I promised to protect them, but the wilderness takes what it wants." He expected pity. Instead, Mai's hand rested on his arm, her eyes holding sorrowful understanding. In that touch, they were survivors, finding solace in shared loss. When the storm passed, Lily awoke, weak but alive. Caleb's relief was immense. Days later, Harmon, the auctioneer, rode up with cronies, jeering about Mai. $10 for your toy," he said. Lily watched from the window, fear in her eyes. Something in Caleb shattered. He stepped between Harmon and the door, his voice steel. "Her name is Mai. She's not property. She's the heart of this house. Get off my land." Harmon retreated, his jeers swallowed by silence. Winter yielded to spring's promise. Caleb changed, talking to Lily, brushing Mai's hand without pulling away. He left her a ribbon, a bird's nest, quiet poems. Mai planted the garden, filled the house with flowers and sweet grass. The house was no longer a tomb but a vessel of life. One evening, Caleb approached Mai at the window, holding a carved wooden box. Inside, on velvet, was a simple silver ring. He didn't ask, he offered his heart. Mai smiled, radiant, and slid the ring on. They clasped hands, two survivors finding harbor. Outside, the prairie held them, a witness to their peace. Their story teaches that love grows in shared silence, kindness, and courage. Family is chosen, strength is resilience, and a home is built in another's heart.